Alone in a haunted hotel room, the sun was beginning to set over the horizon, casting long shadows across the cobweb-covered furniture in the abandoned hotel room. I shivered, pulling my jacket tighter around me as a draft from the broken window rattled the chains hanging from the rusted bed frame. It felt like every creak and groan of the old building was trying to tell me something, but I couldn't quite decipher their whispers. The walls seemed to be closing in on me, suffocating me with their secrets. What had happened here? Who had suffered here? Why did I feel so uneasy? I pushed open the door wider, letting in more of the darkening twilight, and stepped inside. The musty smell of stale waste and decay hit me first, followed by an overwhelming sense of dread that seemed to cling to me like a shroud. The room was bare, except for the four walls and a heavy wooden desk bolted to the floor. A single flickering bulb cast long dancing shadows that stretched and distorted, taking on grotesque shapes that made my skin crawl. The bed was gone, ripped from its moorings and tossed carelessly into the corner, its mattress stained and torn, revealing the stuffing beneath. One side of the room was dominated by a large mirror, its surface tarnished and cloudy, like the eyes of a blind and forgotten deity. I had come to this abandoned Grandview hotel seeking a night alone in its haunted embrace, hoping to commune with the spirits that were said to linger here. I never expected it to be this way. How could anyone ever have found solace or joy in these rooms? As the last sliver of daylight slipped away, leaving me in near darkness, the silence became deafening. The hum of the city below faded into the distance, replaced by an oppressive quiet that pressed against my eardrums. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic tattoo in the stillness. The air grew colder, sending goosebumps erupting across my skin. I pulled my jacket tighter, seeking a meager defense against the encroaching chill. But it was no use. The temperature in the room was plummeting, and then I heard it, a soft whisper that seemed to slither through the air, brushing against my ear. It spoke of unspeakable horrors and tragedies that unfolded within these very walls. At first, it was just a murmur, a low, mournful sound that echoed through the empty halls. But then it grew louder, becoming a cacophony of screams and sobs. The voices of men, women, and children filled the room, swirling around me in a vortex of despair. Their words twisted and distorted, impossible to decipher, yet their emotions clear as day: terror, anguish, and despair. It was as if the walls themselves were bleeding sorrow. I stumbled backward, tripping over the loose floorboard, my eyes frantically searching for the source of the noise. But there was nothing there. The shadows seemed to writhe and twist, taking on monstrous forms that loomed over me, their edges blurring in and out of existence. I could feel their icy gazes boring into me, their presence seeping into my bones, chilling me to the core. And then they were upon me, the specters reaching out with skeletal fingers that scraped against my skin like claws on a chalkboard. I screamed, a primal roar of fear and pain as they dragged me deeper into the abyss. I scrambled back, desperate to escape their grasp, my fingers digging into the rough plaster as I slid down the wall. But it was no use. The more I struggled, the tighter their grip became, their icy touch sapping the warmth from my body, freezing me in place. Their whispers grew louder, enveloping me in their icy embrace, stealing my breath and replacing it with their sorrow. I thrashed about, my muscles spasming in a vain attempt to break free, but their hold was relentless, were dragging me under, drowning me in their despair. I clawed at the shadows, trying to tear myself away, but they only tightened their grip, their whispers turning into a deafening roar that drowned out my screams. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The pressure lifted, the whispers faded, and the shadows retreated. I lay on the floor, gasping for breath, my body trembling, the icy grip of their despair still clinging to me like a shroud. I forced myself to look up, expecting to see them standing over me, their twisted faces inches from my own. But there was nothing there. The room was plunged into darkness, the silence broken only by my ragged breathing. I stared at the spot where the shadows had been, my mind struggling to comprehend what I had just experienced. Had I imagined it? Was I truly alone in that room? Or were they watching me, waiting for me to turn away so they could strike again? I didn't want to find out. The remnants of their despair still clung to me, weighing me down like an anchor. I knew I couldn't stay in that room, not with those things lurking in the darkness, feeding on my fear. Scrambling to my feet, I rushed to the door, my hands shaking as I fumbled with the handle. I burst out into the hallway, slamming the door behind me and leaning against it, gasping for breath. The sounds of the city rushed back to me, a soothing balm to my frayed nerves. People strolled along the street below, their voices carrying up to me, a reminder that I was still a part of the world of the living. I stumbled back, my eyes wide with disbelief and mounting terror. In the dim glow of the emergency lights, I saw them, the figures that had haunted my nightmares, standing in the doorway, their eyes glowing with an eerie light. But it wasn't their appearance that truly terrified me. It was what they represented, the countless souls trapped here, forever doomed to wander these desolate halls. With a choked sob, I turned and fled, racing down the dimly lit hallway, my footsteps echoing in the vast emptiness. I could hear their whispers trailing behind me, their voices growing louder with each passing second. "Help us," they cried. "Release us from this torment," but I couldn't help them. I could barely help myself. Adrenaline surged through my veins, urging me onward. I had to get out of that building, away from the tormented souls that seemed determined to drag me down into their abyss. I burst through the front doors and stumbled onto the sidewalk, gasping for breath. The cool night air hit me like a wave, bringing with it the sweet sound of freedom. I had escaped. I glanced back at the hotel, its dark windows like vacant eyes staring out at me. I shuddered, knowing that even though I had escaped its clutches, it would forever remain a part of me, its darkness imprinted on my soul. The following morning, the sun shone brightly in the cloudless sky, casting its golden rays over the bustling city. The Grandview Hotel stood bathed in sunlight, its towering presence a stark contrast to the horrors that unfolded within its walls. The day was alive with energy, people going about their daily routines, their laughter echoing through the streets. Children chased each other in the parks, their joyous squeals carried on the gentle breeze. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, creating a heady perfume that permeated the city. Birds sang merrily from atop the buildings, their songs a cheerful accompaniment to the symphony of urban life. But amidst this vibrant tapestry of life, there was a discordant note, a shadow that lingered over the city, a palpable unease that seemed to have taken root in the hearts of its inhabitants. People hurried along the sidewalks, their faces drawn and serious, their eyes downcast. A pall of gloom hung over the shops and businesses, their windows displaying their wares, but their doors firmly shut. Even the animals seemed to sense the impending doom, cowering in the safety of their homes. A deep, unsettling feeling of dread pervaded the city, as if a storm was brewing on the horizon, threatening to engulf everything in its path. It was as though the joy and vibrancy of the day itself were being sucked away, leaving behind a hollow echo of its former self.